nevertheless, food prices, electricity prices, house construction index, all up. It'll be fascinating to see how that's recorded today, but I bet a whole lot of people will say when the inflation rate comes out later on this afternoon, yeah, good luck on that. But part of it, in part, I guess, is going to be this transition as we move to a carbon zero economy. And everything is going to be electrified. We might be talking about petrol and diesel prices as part of an historic precinct one day, as we look at an entirely electrified New Zealand, both transport fleets, gosh, they're talking about air travel now, as well as also coastal cargo ships, our schools moving away from coal and diesel, and through to not being able to burn hardwood in this country as many regional councils decide to enact the government's air quality policy and ban from many areas of New Zealand, including some of mine, the good old coal and wood burner. But that would suggest to me that you would need a massive amount of electricity in the future to compensate. And last week, Keith Turner, Chair of Transpower, actually launched something that I thought deserved far more consideration from the mainstream media and far more attention from political parties as well. Where's all the electricity coming from? Do we have enough? Joining us this morning on that issue is Keith Turner. Keith, welcome to the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a very cautionary tale you tell. We don't have enough production in the New Zealand electricity grid at the moment. Is that right?
Oh, I think the system is quite tight, and we do notice the plants like Huntly that used to be running constantly. They're not running as constantly as they used to, but when they are needed, they take a while to start up. And if we have a sudden spike, the market is quite tight. But look, there's a lot of development on the horizon. There's lots and lots of new projects under investigation. So something is happening.
What's apart from Lake Onslow, which is a battery and is going to take decades to in actual fact enact, what other hydro schemes are out there, Keith?
Look, no hydro on the horizon. I think hydro's been developed pretty fully in New Zealand. We've got this wonderful hydro system already that does about 65% of New Zealand's power, and it is a very flexible source. So it's very much part of the mix for the future.
Well, if it's part of the mix, it's not expanding, is it? So it can only produce X. And it's dependent, as you also know, upon the weather. So, where do we go after that?
And I think that's one of the key things the industry is grappling with, and the government's got its project battery under investigation to find out just exactly how we can back up things like solar and wind when they're a little bit intermittent. I mean, we all know solar is only a daylight producing system, and we've got to have things to supply us at night. And the hydro storage lakes do a lot of that at the moment, but we are going to need more, and that's why the government's battery project is so jolly important.
But as I said, that won't be online for a long, long time, even if it were to go ahead and everything be green-lighted now. I guess, Keith, as we move towards, as I said, electrifying everything, because we're not allowed to burn diesel or fossil fuels or, something similar, or burn coal, that's why Huntly's out, what's the demand upon the network?
Look, at Transpower, we've done a lot of forward thinking about that, and we've got a number of scenarios and estimates. Our best estimate is that in the next 30 to 35 years, we'll need another 30 terawatt hours. So we currently consume in this country around about 40 terawatt hours, and by 2050, we think that's going to be up to somewhere around 70 terawatt hours. And that's supplying all the electric vehicles that we think are going to turn up, and also supplying a lot more electricity to industry. So industry is going to be a big part of this.
Keith, I'm not very good at maths, but that's rough. What's that? A 75% increase in electricity production we're going to need. Is that right?
Yes, that's it's certainly a big increase. I mean, we've been
That makes my eyes water, Keith. That must make yours water too, I'm sure.
Not at all. Look, when I came into the electricity system, we were growing electricity supply at 6, 7, 8% per annum. And then the oil shocks came in the early 70s. That dropped to 3 or 4% per annum. The last 10 years, we've only been growing electricity supply at less than 1% per annum. And so
I guess that's why the prices are so high. Yeah, but that's why the prices are so high, aren't they?
Not at all. Look, I'm not really in the position to talk about prices. Transpower doesn't set prices. Transpower transmits the power from the place it's generated to the place it's consumed.
Okay, so you're not responsible for the lines companies then, like, for example, Aurora down south?
Absolutely not. No, the Transpower operates at the very high voltage level, so we're the ones that connect the power right across the country. The local distributors are generally in their local area, and they take it from much lower voltage and take it out to the households and industry.
Keith, this is a bit off left field, but if you were redesigning the electricity or the power networks for New Zealand now, would you actually have the current configuration? Because it seems incredibly fractured and inefficient.
Look, it's not fractured and inefficient. I think that's a very false suggestion. The electricity system evolves as demands change, and as a country, we're a long, skinny country, and it wouldn't matter if you were designing it today or you started, 75 years ago like we have. You'd still need a strong transmission grid across the whole country, and that's exactly what we've got. But over time, as the demands on that system grow, we've got to add bits and pieces to it to make it stronger and to carry more power. So things like the...
No, I'm not. I think you've misunderstood the question. I think you've misunderstood the question, Keith. I'm not talking about what Transpower are doing, which is a sort of a... I'm talking about the way in which the division between transmission, between generation and between retail, that seems extraordinarily fractured.
It's not fractured. It works absolutely fine. It needs a lot of communication, but then I don't think you can go to an electricity system anywhere in the world and find anything different. I think local distribution is a very different sort of business to high voltage transmission, which is a very different sort of business to generation. And it's very common to have different companies doing those different jobs.
Well, I don't think your argument would fly too well in Otago at the moment with Aurora and their 40% increase in line charges, but then I guess you're not responsible for that, are you?
I'm certainly not responsible for that, there are places in the country where upgrading of lines is required, and if the condition of the lines is not great, then it's very important that they get maintained. I mean, electricity is such a pervasive function for our modern society. Everybody needs it, and it's incredibly important, and our society depends upon it. So the whole system has to be incredibly reliable, and that's, I think, one of the challenges that Aurora is going through at the moment.
Keith, just take me through this again, because the bit that I'm missing is if you're going to get rid of coal, so you can't put Huntly there because of government policy, if you're going to get rid of fossil fuels, where is that 75% extra production going to come from? If you're not going to build any new hydro, and remember, Lake Onslow's there as a battery, so in other words, it's there not all the time, but hopefully when you need it on occasion. Where is that extra 75% increase in electricity going to come from?
Look, there's hundreds of new projects under investigation. We're just starting to see significant scale solar farms coming to be built. There's some very, very big offshore wind projects starting to be investigated. There's a lot of onshore wind capability in this country. We're a very windy country relative to most places in the world. And then we actually have this very strong baseload opportunity with geothermal. We've got quite a few geothermal plants, and there's quite a lot more investigation for geothermal to go on as well. So, look, there's a very wide range of renewable energy sources, all of which more than capable of meeting that extra growth.
I will come back and question you in about 20 years' time, and I guess we'll see, won't we, Keith? Eh?
I guess we will, and I think the market's going to be a very different market in that time, and so will consumers. I mean, there's a very big change in technology going on at the consumer level, and consumers are going to be part of the solution as well. I mean, they're installing batteries in their houses for solar systems.
Yeah.
They've got inverters on so many things which are controllable. It's going to be a very exciting world.
All right, thank you, Keith. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate the time you've given to us. Good morning to you. That's Keith Turner, Transpower Chair, who in actual fact gave a cautionary tale last week. He's walked that back this morning, has he not, Paul? He's walked that back. And but there you go. We need 75% more power in the next 30 years. Now, if we're not going to build hydro, you know what I'm thinking. What's the cheapest source of electricity? What have the Finnish Greens just endorsed? Now there's a question.